What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Motorfest, and in this video I will be going over basically the best early part build you can run to actually go after gold parts easier and or like the said part sets you actually want. So the first thing, guys, obviously I would say here is going to start with the legend points. I would probably say this is going to be a very helpful thing to at least have active. Now, I would say many people who are grinding are most likely having all of their points on Lucky and or Gold Finder. Now, what's kind of interesting though, guys, compared to like the Crew 2, it is going to be different in Motorfest. And then for Lucky, guys, you will also have an 80% loot quality increase that will be on top of the said part sets you are running. So I would say it is going to be insanely helpful. But the biggest thing here, though, many people probably do not have a loot digger set. So the biggest question is, what can I run to actually go after part sets and or get them done quicker? And I would also say this is probably going to be insanely good for people who are grinding like classes early on. So I'm sure many people might be looking for a great parts that they can go after and or something they can use until they actually get the said parts that they do want. Now the big question here, guys, what do you actually need to run to get more gold parts unlocked? So for this, guys, the biggest thing here is going to be Goldfinger and or Lucky on every single gold part that you have. So do keep in mind you obviously do not have to have any loot digger parts active. But if you guys do have any loot digger parts, I would recommend throwing them on and or going after Goldfinger and or Lucky with each one. And this is actually one of my strategies I did do with every single part. So for example, guys, as you will see here on this vehicle, I'm running random parts on each one. Which I really do want to mention, guys, if you are going after gold part sets in this game, this is by far going to be the biggest thing to aim for. Like, for example, you do not have to have any loot digger parts active, but I really would say if you guys get any of them, make sure you add Goldfinger and or Lucky to each one, and continue to go after those until you actually get a set. But if you are trying to go after like a Nitro Chemist and or like a Score Breaker set for your cars, I would actually recommend running something like this on all of your vehicle classes, at least until you get a loot digger. That way you're actually going to have many of these said part sets unlocked. But for this, guys, the big thing is obviously Goldfinger and or Lucky on every single part that you do have. So the biggest thing here, guys, you can easily aim for getting a gold part in each category. That way all you actually have to go after is going to be Lucky and or Goldfinger. And I actually did this with every single class I have grinded with so far. Funnily enough, the next class I will be grinding with is going to be the Drag. That is going to be an interesting time, but even with that, guys, I'm going to do the exact same thing I did with this one. Even if I have random gold parts, even a part I am looking for, like a Nitro Chemist part here, I would still add Goldfinger and or Lucky to the Chemist part, even if it's the only one you actually have in that said class, and if you really do need that part for, let's say, tires, I would still add something like that to it, guys. That way you can also change it back afterwards, and or go after, like, the legit build you might actually want to have, like Pure and or Frenetic. So in the meantime, though, I would definitely throw on Goldfinger and or Lucky to every single gold part you guys actually get in the beginning. That way you can actually get the parts you are looking for as quick as possible. I guess in some ways it is going to come down to like the overall luck you might have with getting these said parts you actually want, and or like these said part sets you actually want for those said builds you're actually going for. But even then, guys, it is going to take a while to do so. Like, for example, the monster truck class, I managed to get one of my favorite part set builds quick. I actually got a Nitro Chemist part set for that around 2 hours. And then what's kind of funny though is I did want to have a score breaker set for the monster class, which I would say is probably going to be slightly useless. But of course, coming from the crew 2, I like having one of those part sets on basically every class though. I mean, on most of the skills in the summits, I was running like a drift car back then, and or even like a monster truck on many of them, while everyone was using like a rally raid. So it really is going to depend on which part set you actually have. But for the Scorebreaker part set, guys, I managed to get most of the parts pretty quick, even running a Loot Digger, guys, which, by the way, the Loot Digger set I'm probably going to make a separate video on, because even with a Loot Digger, I would still say grinding out parts is going to be kind of a nightmare, and the main reason for that is even with a maxed out Lucky and or Goldfinger on a Loot Digger set, you are still getting way too many blue and or purple parts and or even green, so that is obviously going to be a big issue. But I definitely recommend trying out this build though, guys, because even to this day I'm still going after this on basically every class I am leveling up, And I will be doing the drag class next, and I will also be going after the exact same setup. Regardless of what part I am running, I will be having Goldfinger and or the Lucky perk active. And of course, every time I get a Loot Digger, I will obviously replace the set part with it. That way, eventually, you can have the legit Loot Digger set active, but until then, guys, you actually might get pretty dang lucky and or get the sets you are looking for without ever getting a Loot Digger, which has happened to me a few times, so it really is going to come down to like the overall RNG in this game, which, let's be honest, really is going to be a very interesting topic because in some ways I would say the RNG is awful, and then sometimes you also get insanely lucky by getting some part sets done quick, so I guess that's probably going to be how the game is designed. But let me know if you guys have any questions at all in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insight.